welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have John McEntire. He is a coach, he is a speaker, he is the founder and Chief Empowerment Officer of Mutual Prosperity. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you so much, AJ. I was really looking forward to this. I was glad to be invited. I've watched your other shows, some of your other shows, and just the diversity you have and the topics and the people, just great to learn from them all.
Thank you. Thank you, John. You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about how one can harness cultural synergy in leadership. But before that, help us understand a bit about your journey, also about your company, Mutual Prosperity, what you do there as Chief Empowerment Officer.
Sure. So let's go back in time. I grew up in a very diverse household. I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. That's in the Western United States. And I had my mother and father, and then 5 siblings, and then 2 cousins periodically lived with us, 2 Native American Navajo foster brothers we had during the school year. We had international exchange students from like Japan and Germany and other places. And then we also had some humanitarian refugees from Laos. A family of 6 came. My parents were very giving people, and they just liked to have lots of people in the house. So even at dinner time, there was always somebody new at the table. And so that really gave me a great appreciation of culture and everything. One other thing that I was blessed with was that we actually traveled quite a bit. And at the time, I didn't realize how maybe different that was. But by the time I was 22, I had traveled to 19 countries in all 50 states. And so a lot of cultural aspects there, learning about history, learning about how people work together or don't, learning about how what makes people beautiful and such. And then I've actually, since I was 11, been working and have held over 25 different types of jobs during my lifetime career. Anywhere from flipping hamburgers to being a file clerk in my father's orthopedic office, to flower arranging, to painting, to landscaping, and then to my career in the professional world, innovation ecosystem development, which was basically technology transfer, taking new ideas from universities and research organizations out to the world, making sure that they could become products, services, and I've been involved with over 200 startups in that regard, and in the licensing and helping them. So anyway, that's my diverse background. There's other aspects there that I won't go into, but I really feel like people are very important, and culture is important. It's really important to actually have people fuse that into their businesses.
Right, John. So when we talking of harnessing cultural synergy in leadership, what do you actually mean by that? How should we understand this particular concept?
So let me just give you my mission. The company mission is empowering individuals and organizations to reach their full potential by fostering synchrony, alignment, and global collaboration. And then the vision of the organization is really mutual prosperity envisions a world where individuals discover and embrace their true purpose, while leaders create enabling environments that foster personal growth, innovation, and collaboration. By aligning unique talents with shared values, individuals find joy and fulfillment, and organizations thrive, leading to collective prosperity and harmony. So that really sums it up in a sentence.
Right, John. But see, uh, what you are talking is sounds very good. I want the world to be like this, but in reality, you also know what type of world we have on the ground. We have leadership, which is, people are telling that there is crisis in leadership. We have leadership, which is, which has led to the great resignation and quiet quitting. And we have leadership, which is talking about all the good things, but we are dealing with climate crisis and so many things at the same time. And we have also leadership, which also talks about DEI and so many other things. And still in organizations, we find so much discrimination happening. So how, amidst all these things, how do you work about these things on the ground? uh, do they just talk, or organizations are also ready to walk the talk? Help us a bit on the from the on ground perspective.
Yeah. Well, it's a very good question, and you brought up a lot of points there, which are really really important. And I don't know which one's more important than the other, but when I go back to my upbringing and then having worked in all those different jobs, what I learned actually from those different jobs was actually being able to walk in the shoes of different people and kind of understand how different groups thought and worked and what motivated them and everything. And so and throughout my career, I've had really excellent bosses, okay, but I've had some really terrible ones too. And I actually learned from both of them. But the ones that were terrible, I learned how I didn't want to be. And so I was always trying to figure out, how do you make it so that I don't make people feel the way that that person made me and the other team members feel. And so over time, I created what was called SYNC, SYNC, which stands for Synchronize Yourself Naturally Within Your Community. And let me break this down a little bit, these components.
Right.
Synchronize is really orchestrating success in complex business landscapes. So how do you take all those different pieces? So my view is that everybody is a puzzle piece, and everybody's needed for that big puzzle for that organization or for the world, if you want to say. And if somebody's going to hire somebody to do a job, rather than having HR always just check off a list saying, oh, this person has this qualification, this education, they took these tests, they have these certifications and everything. Although these things are important, I think attitude is the most important, both in that individual, but in the way that people actually either enable them to do their jobs or not. And so synchronization really is a couple things, making sure that your orb of influence, okay, is close to your boss's orb and to the other people that you work with. You need to make sure that you're on the same level, you're working on the same aspects. The next thing is actually we need to get out of the curse of Babel. And what that is that even though you're in the same organization, you've got the C-suite speaking one language, you've got accounting speaking another language, HR speaking another language, the people in the design and research are speaking one language, and the factory are speaking another language. So everybody's speaking different things, and so you need to get them all on the same page. Once you start to get people to understand how their orb fits with the other orbs and get people speaking the same language and reading from the same page, then you're able to actually get people to start assessing things better. So that's synchronized, orchestrating success in these complex landscapes. The yourself, which actually becomes personalized, is really enhancing your personal responsibility and making it authentic. And so I'm a success principles methodology coach from Jack Canfield. I don't know if people know who Jack Canfield is, but he's the person from the Chicken for the Soup Soul Soup for the Soul books, and I've learned a lot from him. He's one of my mentors, and I've incorporated those aspects plus how to become authentic and make sure that you're really becoming your best self. So this is either as a leader or as a person, how you want to ultimately become somebody who could become a leader. Then naturalize is there's always different components in our lives that require us to kind of think outside of ourselves. And even though we're thinking outside of ourselves, some of those things are actually internal, but we just don't know how to turn them on. And so naturalization is naturalizing things is like learning how to use your intuition. From Korea, we learn about nunchi. And what nunchi is, learning out how to read a room. When you walk into a boardroom, you try and kind of assess where you fit in and where others are, and then try and figure out how you fit in better. Um, the other aspects of naturalize, but also in synchronize, was that my studies took me to Japan, and I studied Japanese and Asian studies with Korean and Chinese. And so on the Japanese side, I was very interested in the consensus building aspects that Japan has. And so when you incorporate that into yourself and into your organization, and you're always trying to make sure that everybody's heard and that you're able to understand what other people's needs are versus your own, and what can make them seal together, then you're ultimately able to get people to kind of think more alike and to think naturally to move forward. Then communitize is really building a shared purpose and collective success. And so once you've done that synchronize, the personalization, the naturalize, and then you bring it to a community aspect, then you're able to actually start moving forward and dealing with things. So you have to work on yourself first, and then you need to be able to understand that yourself is not really the most important thing. The most important thing is you make sure that everybody else is part of you and that you're part of everybody else. And so you need to be able to bring that community together so that everybody's working for a shared purpose.
Absolutely, everyone is working for the shared purpose. But you see, a lot of leaders who have great good feelings for everyone, they may find themselves that they are not able to fit in the situation at any place. They have to do a job, they have to look at their career, but unfortunately, some of these promoters, they do not want those sort of great ideas. They want them to focus more on profit than any purpose. And that is where the leaders, it is not always easy for them to just leave a job and move anywhere else. A lot of employees are also, you cannot change the whole world, even however good a person you are. A lot of employees have their own ways of looking at their career and their life, even though a lot will talk about good things about leadership and everything. So in that aspect, how does a leader who is true to himself, but his environment is not ideal for his type of leadership, how does he survive? How does he ensure that he is able to do his best within whatever situation he is? Because as you said, leadership is in crisis, but not all leaders are bad. And we need good leaders. We need them to pass through these tough times, and so that they can create the world that they are capable of.
Absolutely. So we don't always get blessed with good leaders and everything. My opinion is that there's a lot to learn from a situation where you're working with somebody who's not as desirable as somebody else. That's where I've actually learned how to hone my own skills a little bit better. I've learned, patience. I've learned to try and understand different points of view, although sometimes it's really hard to understand somebody who's not being, caring about the other people and such. But if you can learn how to deal in those environments, and sometimes we have to put up with it for a little bit, then you can move forward. So in my own career, it was in 2006 that I was at the University of Illinois in their technology transfer office, and I'd been there for 10 years and gone through a lot of different bosses and everything. I helped the office actually reinvent itself, put it together a business plan, and it's still running from that business plan and doing very well. But there was times when I had a boss or two that just didn't really care about the other people, and sometimes threw us under the bus, and that was really difficult. And so in 2006, I had been there for these 10 years, and I had an opportunity to actually use a professional coach, and that professional coach was mind-blowing experience, because I was able to actually see myself from a different vantage point, get rid of some of those different situations where I was really trying to be a people pleaser, a yes man, trying to make sure that my boss, really cared about me and everything. And those things are important, but there's something about you lose your authenticity when you do that too much. And so I learned how to actually work with other people and work around that person. And so even though that person was not pleasant to deal with and sometimes didn't provide the resources that I needed or other people needed, I was able to actually work around and sometimes get, their boss to help out or whatnot. And but that coaching aspect, having a mentor, was really, really important for me to be able to get outside myself. So one of the services that we provide is also helping people reinvent themselves, helping organizations reinvent themselves. And so that reinvention means that you're trying to figure out how you work with those orbs of influence when sometimes they're difficult, and what language do you use, and how can you help get them on your side. One of the things in to naturalize is to use different things from Sun Tzu, which is he wrote The Art of War, and he was a general in ancient China, and he had all these philosophies, and you think the art of war, why would you want that and everything? Well, the art of war is actually a story about how you win battles without actually fighting. And so you're winning people's hearts. And so if you can learn how to win people's hearts, then you're able to get places a little bit further and a little bit better. At some point, people have to make a decision as to how much they'll put up with, and if it's too much, then they can try and move on. If not, sometimes their boss will end up moving on, and things will change, or maybe they can change with inside their organization to another point. But it's really kind of how do you fix your own heart, and be authentic yourself, and then present that in a way that people can understand and be sensitive to it and accept that.
Right, John. Well explained. Now, one last question I want to understand about this is that, diversity is a very good thing. When you go out, you meet different people, you learn about them. But when organizations talk of diversity, equity, inclusion, many a times, in that name, either some people are doing lip serving service, or some people actually find it a difficult thing for them to implement. Why I ask this is that in the name of diversity, sometimes you could be bringing in employees who may not normally, uh, be able to compete or be as competent as others. In normal situations, it is fine. But now questions are being raised. Especially, I read this an article in Economist about this whole attack on Trump during one of his rallies, and in that they said that some of the Secret Service officers, they were a part of the DEI and employment, and that they were not as quick as they should be. Now, whatever the case may be, I just read this article in different situations. When situations will be tough, people will certainly get a chance of questioning the abilities of officers or whoever it is, employees who have been hired under a certain situation. And at that point in time, you will not be able to counter it just by saying that DEI is important. You will have to say something more. So, how should organizations not only follow DEI by heart, but are also able to not compromise, compromise on quality at the same time? How do leadership are diverse in their approach, but also ensure that the quality is not compromised in any manner, especially in today's time?
A very good question, very timely, and it's a difficult question to answer because it comes political to some people. I think that anytime that something is mandated by a government or whatnot, it loses its naturalness. I believe that
Right.
the things that you mentioned about you know potential flaws in DEI are that maybe the quality's not there. Maybe people who are really striving to do something, all of a sudden they get pushed aside, and that's not good and everything. Diversity is really critical, and it's important. And when I was working for the Qatar Foundation in Doha, I was there for 9 years. I worked for them for 10, and I worked with people from 60 different countries. and actually a lot of people from India. And I really loved people from India. They were just awesome. And what was really interesting was that, of course, there's a certain type of hierarchy that comes in, naturally in that type of hierarchical environment and everything. But in regards to my team or the people that I was working with, it was really important for me to actually get to know them and to get to understand what their skills really were. Not put them in a box and saying, oh, they're an accountant, or they do this type of research and they're from this country, so they think this way. Well, you need to really get to know people and understand them, and then once we're able to work with them and understand how they fit in within the organization and what piece of the puzzle they actually hold, and we let them polish that piece of the puzzle to the nth degree, then we're actually going to get the things out of there without having to have mandated DEI type activities.
Right, right, John. There's much to learn from you about all those things. And I'm sure a lot of people would like to learn from you, learn about mutual prosperity. So, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, you can look me up at mutualprosperity.com. That's mutualprosperity.com. And then also my LinkedIn page, which is linkedin.com/John Taylor McEntire. And that will give you a lot of information about me, but also about the company and the services we provide.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, AJ.